Hi, my name's Amanda Easton. I'm a performer, singer-songwriter from Sydney, Australia. I make retro-inspired, theatrical, electronic pop. But when I'm not doing my own music, I do
cabaret,
cover band gigs, solo gigs, tribute shows, recording sessions. Welcome to my Circle of Light vlog.
And I'll be watching you from here.
Good morning. Hi, this is Amanda. Thank you for joining me for my Circle of Light vlog. It's less than 9 o'clock. That means earlier than 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm up and about. I'm actually up the coast, the central coast, about an hour and a half north of Sydney for a gig that starts at 10 a.m. And it's only a Wednesday. Crazy. But it's beautiful. I've gotten here a bit early, so I thought this is the perfect place to do my vlog because look at this. It's a gorgeous day, it's springtime, and I seem to have a magnetic attraction to water, so I think I subconsciously get here a little bit earlier to all my gigs that are near the water so I can just hang out next to it for a little while. Let me take these glasses off. Now, I don't know if it's springtime making me all romantic and a bit mushy and, you know, I'm getting the spring feels, but on the weekend I just suddenly got this sensation that, you know, I'm looking around me on stage, and I always have known that I've worked with the most wonderful musicians and I'm really lucky to do that, but I just got this feeling and I thought, I really like these people. Now, I don't want that to sound like a surprise, they're wonderful people, of course I like them, but you know when it tips over from the people that you work with, start off as workmates and then they become your friends and almost your family, and it's such a lovely sensation. And the trouble is, I guess, with the music industry, at least in Sydney, is that most of us have dozens of projects. If you want to actually make a living out of music, it's difficult just to have one band. And you know, you meet people at a party and they say, "Oh, what's the name of your band?" And you say, "Oh, which one?" Because you have multiple bands, and that's the way it works really if you want to work regularly. There's not enough work in a smallish city like Sydney to be able to sustain just having one band, or certainly it's very rare that that would be the case. So you end up working with lots of different bands, and that's a great thing. The variety is fantastic. It's, you know, all different kinds of music, and you certainly never get bored. You're always on your toes, you're always being challenged. But I guess the negative to that is, instead of working with exactly the same group all the time, where you become, you know, extremely close and the music gets really tight, you're chopping and changing and working with all different people in all different situations all the time. And I guess lately I feel like I've been working with a similar group of people more often than usual. The Blondie vs Pretenders show did 2 gigs over the weekend, you know, 2 whole gigs in a row, which is kind of unusual. And a lot of those people from that band are the same people that I work with in other tribute shows as well. And I don't know what point it tips over from, you know, these people just being people you like and respect to them being really important to you. And I did get that sensation on the weekend, which was lovely. And speaking of that, you heard the news about us losing our dear friend Damien Lovelock recently, and some of his friends and musical friends and other friends have put together a show which I love the name that they've called it, Damo the Musical. He would just love that, and it's a big show that's happening in a couple of weeks that is designed to commemorate and celebrate Damo's life. And it's on at the Factory Theatre on the 22nd of September. Everybody's welcome, whether you knew Damo or not. And it's going to be featuring a lot of these musos that I'm talking about that I work with quite often. And when Damo was with us, this particular group of people, he would often joke to the audience that we all met in the line at Centrelink, which, if you're not aware, is our dole queue or our social services queue. I don't know what you call it in different countries. But basically the out of work queue, which is not true, but it's a great story. And so this particular band is celebrating, you know, a whole lot of repertoire that Damo loved at the Factory Theatre at this gig, and it's being dubbed the Centrelink Surfers Band, which is just perfect. And we're doing some Stones, and that's a particular favourite of Damo's, and a whole lot of other covers. But of course Damo is probably most famous for his work as the lead singer of the Celibate Rifles. Now, the Celibate Rifles are certainly Australia's best known punk band. They've even played in the legendary CBGBs in New York, and a very well respected, very well loved band, and they're playing at the event, of course. And Jello Biafra, who was the lead singer of the Dead Kennedys, is actually coming in to guest with the Celibate Rifles, which is really exciting. And believe it or not, I'm going to be guesting with the Celibate Rifles. I just love this. Little Poppy Me is going to be singing legendary punk band, the Celibate Rifles. I am so honoured, I can't tell you. And I know Damo would love this because he was always trying to push my musical boundaries and succeeded. He really opened up my musical landscape in so many ways. Anyway, it'll be a really, really fun event and, you know, bittersweet, of course, but certainly something great to come and have a look at. So come along. It's the 22nd of September, which is a Sunday. It's on in the afternoon between about 4 and 8 o'clock at the Factory Theatre in Marrickville in Sydney. And speaking of good friends, this week on Stage Stories, I'm talking to one of my besties. It's Jo Elms. We've done a ridiculous amount of shows together, and I'll let her tell you all about it. I'll see you later. Bye.
Truth will show when you stand so close, eye to eye.
Hi there, I have just arrived at the studio of Jo Elms. I'm just parking outside and I thought I'd give you a heads up of half an hour because I'm about to go live with her and do a Stage Stories interview. I don't even know where to start with this girl. She's one of my best buddies. We've done so many gigs together. We've experienced so many different kind of things together, work-wise and personally, and she's a very important person to me. But separately to that, she's the most amazing artist, singer, musician, person. No, so start. Hello! I have the gorgeous Jo Elms here, and we're just going to start off with basically the thing that she does best. She's going to play one of her songs. I'm going to attempt to do some harmonies, but we'll see what happens.
It's been a while since I got on this train, and some things never seem to change. These tracks I'm taking on this journey of mine, riding through the night till the morning sunrise. Ticket that took me to a place I belong, Midnight Express, I'm coming home, and here I am, and all I have is right here in my hands, and
Now, I don't even know where to start with you. I'm sure I'm going to learn stuff about you that I don't already know. But I feel like I know you so well. We've done, I don't even know how many gigs have we done together. Can you imagine? A billion. And a whole lot of really different projects. You're not on, there's something missing.
Yeah, we've had some wild and wonderful times together.
We certainly have. Well, let us know, what are the projects you're working on at the moment?
Oh, well, I've just come back from 2.5 months in London.
I know, it's too long.
It was a really long time, actually, and coming back to Sydney and adjusting back into Sydney life was a bit... a bit strange after being away for that long.
What'd you get up to over there?
Well, I was touring with a show called My Leonard Cohen, and that's celebrating the music of course, the late great, irreplaceable Leonard Cohen. That's a show that Stuart Derrietta's put together that I think you were part of the original incarnation.
We can't do projects that aren't together, even though we did it separately together.
That's so bizarre. So I've been part of that for about the last 3 years, and my husband Victor Rounds also plays bass in that show. So we were touring. This is the second year we've done a UK tour with the show. And then Stewie takes it up to Edinburgh and has a really successful run up there. And we would love to go and do Edinburgh, but it's just too long to
I won't let you go that long.
to be away.
You'll be away for months.
Although it would be amazing, but it's a really long time to be away, and when you've got to keep things happening here, it's all a bit of a juggle.
Yeah.
So that was working over there and I did my own show, my first major headlining show in London in a fantastic venue called the Pheasantry in Chelsea.
Amazing.
And that was a really big task to take on, but it was a lot of stress, but really
it
was so worth it.
Yeah.
It really paid off, and that's going to lead to some other things next year.
So this is going to be a yearly...
Well, I think so. It's nice to go over there and have a British summer. Mind you, though, it's really...
It's probably similar to our winter anyway.
We got some really, really hot days, but then there was some day when we first got there, it was like early June, and I had to go out and buy like a coat and, like...
Any excuse to go shopping.
And then, like yourself, just writing and recording. I've been writing and recording some more material and putting together a new album, which probably will be a 2020 release at this stage, I think.
Yeah.
The 70s Unplugged, of course, which is I've been in that show now for about a year and a half, and that's been a fantastic show to be part of. And that's been really fantastic for me, bringing not only my singing, but my musical attributes to the front as well. Because in that show I play a lot of main guitar and percussion and congas in that too. So
which you've always done to a certain extent, but not in such a major way.
Yeah, it's like with 3 hats. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then and I love it. I really, really, and of course the music is right up my alley as well. It's Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, America, Linda Ronstadt, Dolly Parton,
and Olivia Newton-John, right?
Olivia,
So that stuff will suit you so well as well.
So it's life is busy, and teaching, of course. Life is busy, and for that I am always thankful. I'm always thankful the phone keeps ringing. And
well, the song that we just performed, Here I Am, that's not off your new album, but we will... On the YouTube version of this, I'll make sure I upload some previews of the new stuff. But Here I Am, I mean, the way that I hear this song, and tell me if I'm wrong, is it's about appreciating what you have and where you are now, even though you don't always. Suddenly something can click and you go, oh my God, I'm lucky, I have this, look around me. Is that where it's come from?
I know, you hit the nail right on the head there. I always think of that book, The Alchemist. And it's just like you go out and you do all these things in life and you search for things, and sometimes the things that you were always looking for were like right under your nose.
Yes, absolutely.
But then I guess you had to go off and do all these things to be able to
get to that point. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that so far that you're most proud of about your music career?
That I'm still working.
Yes, I hear you. That the phone is still ringing.
and I'm still doing what I love, and you know what it's like. You never stop learning in this industry. You know, in life you never really stop learning, but you know, this industry is always throwing you curveballs or new things that you sort of have to get your head around, and you learn and you grow from that, you know, and I think that's really amazing. But I think the thing that I'm mostly proud of is that I think, considering my background and where I came from, I've been able to carve a little something that's me, I think. Yeah, and done it all on my own.
Well, this is the thing, we laugh about, you know, the phone keeps ringing, and obviously we do get work from other people, but like me, you like to create your own thing, and I think that's kind of important. You know, you get people that say, oh, there's not a lot of work around and it's really hard, and those two things are both true, but one of the things you can do to help change that is to actually create your own projects, and you've always done that. But you say, considering where you've come from, I mean, you were born in the
England,
UK. Is that what you mean?
Well, you know, I was born in the UK in an area called Watford, and
even when you say you go Watford, you
suddenly
get the accent.
I know. And when I came back after 2.5 months, even my students were going, "You sound English." I was going, "I'm sorry."
Going back to my roots.
Look, my parents, I guess, in the area that I was born into, I mean, Watford's not quite so much now, but it was sort of very working class, and you know, Mum and Dad didn't really have, I would say, easy starts in life, and they came together and tried to create a home for us, and then made the decision when I was 3 to move to New Zealand. But I grew up remembering there wasn't a lot of money around. You know, we never went without anything. We never went without, but you know, it was tough. You know, purse strings were tight.
And there's like 500 of you in the family.
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah.
How many?
4 immediate siblings, and I had a half brother who passed away a few years ago too, from my dad's first marriage. But
so not really 500, but for an only child, that feels like a lot.
Yeah, of course. But so I guess we made our own fun, and you know, my older brother John and I were always like clowning around with music and stuff, but look, there wasn't a lot of money going around, and everything that I sort of did with music came out of school, really. It was all school projects. It wasn't like go off and have singing lessons and go off and have music lessons.
Because that kind of stuff's expensive, especially with multiple children.
You know, so we discovered it all ourselves, and to a large extent because Mum and Dad were working so hard to provide for us, they didn't really, and it's no fault of their own because they were working to support us, but there wasn't a lot of, I would say, encouragement or interest. And it wasn't until, for me, that I actually started doing things with my music that they kind of went, you do it that, wow, how'd that happen, sort of thing.
How amazing. Because I mean, I always assume, since at least 2 of your siblings are amazing musicians as well, that it must have been in the genes somewhere. But do you think it came more from circumstances or a bit of both? I mean, do your mum and dad musical at all?
They have we always had good music in the house, like really, really good taste in music and really good appreciation for music. So we were around a lot of music, but Mum and Dad, don't play. They don't, you know, they're not musical, and yet we were all 4 of us were born with this musical gene.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And maybe, I mean, Mum's background is Irish, so you know, maybe
there's a lot of music in the culture.
It could be some throwback. If I ever do my family history tree,
I'd love to
one
see
day
that.
it might come up.
So at what point did you know that you wanted to make music an actual career?
and again, that was something that just kind of happened. I think the turning point for me was I was doing quite a lot with music in Christchurch, where I was brought up. So I was involved in like amateur theatre, repertory theatre productions, doing school productions, and then I finished school and I sort of didn't know what to do with myself. It was either go to uni or I don't know. And then I got offered to audition for the jazz school in Christchurch. And I auditioned for that and just had a really great aptitude for jazz, believe it or not, because, you know...
I believe it.
And
She's good at everything.
And then I entered a competition that I was asked to partake in, and I won Jazz Soloist of the South Island. Woo!
That's very impressive.
And so I got to go up to Wellington, which is the capital city of New Zealand, for those of you who don't know much about New Zealand. And I recorded a program of jazz standards for national radio. So national radio is like sort of the ABC radio. And from there, things just sort of started happening. You know, I got asked to be involved in different musical projects, and then moved from Wellington up to Auckland.
Is that like a big city kind of move?
Yeah. So Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, sort of progressing up.
Big city.
Yeah, natural progression.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I necessarily chose it, but it just kind of happened. And then before I knew it, I was making a living out of it. But I think the first time I realised that gigging for money was pretty cool was when I was still back in Christchurch. And this is when I was just finishing school, actually. And believe it or not, there's a hotel in Christchurch called the Elms Hotel. I don't know if it's still there after the earthquakes. And there's a guitarist called Gordon Tan, who was here in Sydney for a while, and he asked me to come and do a duo gig with him. He'd see me sing in some school competition or something.
So you're still pretty young.
I was like 17.
Oh my goodness, so you weren't probably legally allowed in the place.
Probably not. And people would come up to me and go, "Oh, does your dad like own, is it your dad own the place?" So I'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah." But all of a sudden I was getting like $100 a gig.
Oh,
And when you're like 17,
that's a fortune.
like I used to go up and work at the family dairy, which is the equivalent of 7-Eleven in New Zealand. We call them dairies.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like work all day and get like $20 or
Yeah,
something.
so suddenly you're doing something you love and you're actually getting paid decent money, well, really good money for those days.
So I think that probably was like, oh yeah,
I might do this.
If I can keep doing this instead of working in the dairy for $20 a day, then I think that's pretty good.
Who would have thought you chose to go into music for the money?
$100 a gig, not much has changed.
No, that's right, that's right.
Unless it's not inflation, there's people still doing $100 gigs
Exactly.
now. Oh God.
I just want to jump a little bit forward and ask you if you remember when we met.
I do remember when we met, and it was Pop-Tarts, wasn't it?
Yes. And it was at the Empire Hotel.
That's
So
right.
Pop-Tarts is a female singer-songwriter showcase that I ran for 10 years at least in
fantastic.
different places around Sydney. And I feel like such a large percentage of the female singer-songwriters I know is through that. So I'm so thankful for those days.
Oh, good days.
And somebody had recommended Joe and your sister Natalie actually to me and said, "You've got to get these girls on your showcase." And I think Natalie might have ended up going back to New Zealand at that stage, so I never got to really meet her. But I remember Joe coming along to the Empire Hotel in Annandale, and there was someone else there, and I can't quite work out who it was, but we were sitting there watching the other acts, and you said, "Do you want a glass of wine?" And I thought, I love this girl. It's just, and it's funny because neither of us are big drinkers, but certainly our glass of something has often just been the icing on the cake of some of our experiences.
Well, I actually think we ended up having a couple. Because
we may have that night afterwards, I think.
Because I think we stayed there talking for ages.
You and me talking blah, blah, blah.
Everything. I think everyone had gone, and we just sat around for ages just yakking. And because I think I'd done a gig, like a corporate thing, and then I'd come down afterwards because it was an early finish.
Yeah.
And and that was such a good night. And I remember going home thinking, "Oh wow, kindred spirits."
Yes. Oh, and from then on, oh my goodness, it's all the millions of gigs we've done together.
Yeah.
So what is it that you love most about doing music?
Boy, not the money.
No. From the early days, suddenly it didn't seem so much after all.
Yeah. What do I love?
Well, that's why it's such a good question, I think, because
it's
people aren't doing it for the money. So and let's face it, a lot of people do the jobs that they do for the money.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we've chosen something that's definitely not for the money, there must be a lot more in it.
I think it's a way of life. It really is. It's a way of life, and like, you know, yourself and lots of us out there doing what we do, it is a way of life. People say, oh, do you just do this part-time, or you like, no, this is full-time.
And it seeps into every part of our life, doesn't it? It's not as if
it consumes.
Yeah. And it's music, so that's a good thing, mostly.
Yeah, it consumes mostly every waking moment, because all the decisions that you make about running your weekly, monthly, yearly schedule are based around what we do. Yeah. So it's definitely a way of life, and I'm not sure if there's one definitive thing that I love most about it. Just getting to do lots of different things and have different musical experiences. One experience is never the same. Yeah. And working with so many great people. Yes. You know, that you learn from and get inspired from, and yeah, I can't imagine having life any other way, you know. I think it keeps you young, and I don't mean young, is it Clue? But it keeps you young in here and in here, heart and mind. It keeps you young and enthusiastic and in general pretty happy about life, I think. Yeah. The creativity is so, it feels so good, so stimulating, and So I may well have been on the worst gig you've ever done, but what can you think? I know it's hard with all the thousands of gigs you've done. Can you think, what is the worst gig you've ever done? That I was thinking about that actually in the car on the way over here this morning, and it's, you know what, and maybe it's a good thing that I actually can't put that's cool. You don't have a terrible memory sticking in your head. I'm sure if I really dug deep enough, there'll be lots of funny things that you just... Tell me about one of those. Oh, I think... I remember when I first moved here to Sydney from working in New Zealand, culturally it was so different. Like, I used to do a lot of gigs in pubs and stuff and that in New Zealand, but it's very different. And then I came over here and I was sort of working in the pub and the club scene, and it was like, well, okay, a bit of a cultural shock. But I do... Is that the way the audiences are? That's different? Yeah. Well, you mean no one in New Zealand says, show us your... Well, I'm going to get to that. Okay. I'm going to get to that because, no, I must say I never had that happen to me. And then I was doing a gig at the old Narrabeen Sands. You know, it's all flash now, but it was a bit dodgy. And like, this is back in the days where just about every bar that you worked in had topless waitresses, right? Oh, gosh. It's a bit of a dying thing now. Well, I don't know, some pubs do, but it's not so... They still do it. When I live in the inner west, they still have it. It's not, but it's not, I don't think it's as frequent. No. But it used to be every gig. Yeah, just normal. And they were everywhere. Boobies. And welcome to Australia. And I do remember going to the Narrabeen Sands, and they had the topless waitresses there, and I'm doing my gig, and I think there's not a really definitive line in the sand. You're a chick, you're on stage, you're doing something. So why have you got a top on? Yeah. And so sure enough, you know, I think I'm into about the third song, and then these guys are at the bar, and if sure enough, it was like, oh, shash your tits, love. And I just thought, I cannot put up with this all night. So I just lifted up my top. Take me back to you didn't. I lifted up my top. I had my bra on, of course, but I just went... And I said, there you go. You did that. I said, are you satisfied? Now we can get this out of the way. Have a good look. So we're done now. I'm going to be here for 3 hours. Let's do it now. And then I can just get on with my gig and not have to put up with this anymore. And they just went, and then they went, rah! Oh, I love that. And they were like right on my side for the rest of the gig. That's fantastic. And don't you just learn how to deal with people in the audience and try and, you know, win them over? Because they might have sat there the whole time and yelled out every 10 minutes. It would have driven me insane. So I just thought, let's just do it now and we'll get it over and done with, and it's all good. Yeah. That's beautiful.
So I was asking about your worst gig, and maybe that probably started off maybe as one of the worst, but do you have a best, or are there so many good ones that that's hard to choose one? And it's not always the one that you play to the most people, or is the most prestigious.
No, totally not.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes, you know, the most intimate. I mean, look, and it's only because it's probably really fresh in my mind, but my own show that I did in London just only last month. Probably would rank up there, and for a number of reasons, not only because I was doing, you know, my own material, and I had, you know, a really good quality listening audience. It was I got good numbers, which we all know is
hard work in your own country, let alone when you're overseas.
Boy, you know, really tough. So when you're doing, you know, done all the promotion, done everything, and then the music is often the last thing that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But really great band, really good turnout, really good result, really good sound. And speaking of what can make or break a gig.
Make or break a gig as a singer, the sound engineer. Oh my goodness.
So probably some of the worst gigs I've had have been due to just basically bad sound.
I would so agree.
You know. But yeah, the one in England for me, it just ticked all the boxes, and I just thought, wow, and the sense of satisfaction of walking away from that going, far out, I made that work and it was a success. That's probably it. But there would be more.
Yeah, but I can just totally understand that.
You know, up there because it's recent.
But it's so much of you in it because it's your music, and you had to organise every little tiny bit of it. So the harder you work, the more satisfaction when it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But then also, you know, like, I mean, we've done so many gigs together that have just been so awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think you can walk away from so many experiences and going, that was such a great night. And it would be really hard to, I guess the only thing that would really top something like that would be, I don't know, playing at Wembley or something.
But there's one experience that you haven't mentioned, and when I first hired Jo to work on my Pop-Tarts showcase that I was talking about earlier, the female singer-songwriter live event, I always write up a bio and, you know, send out press releases and do all that kind of thing beforehand. And so I was doing a bit of research on Jo, and somewhere I saw, and she had submitted a bio. It was just a little bit short, so I was after some more info. And so I did research of my own, and I found out she had a #1 song in New Zealand.
I was number 5.
Oh, number 5, sorry. Top 5.
I'll take number 1.
Okay, top 10 even, right? She didn't even mention it. And if that had been me, I would get a tattoo on my forehead. I got a top 10 song. And you know, she didn't even mention it, and it was ages after we'd spoken and swapped information, and she didn't even mention it ever. And if I hadn't found it to this day, I probably wouldn't know that she had a top 5 song. That's amazing, Jo.
Yeah, and it's funny you should say that, because I did a show recently on a cruise ship, and there were 2 other guest entertainers in the cruise ship, and they came up and they said, and I don't know how we got talking about it. Maybe we'd talked about it at dinner and we were talking about histories or whatever, and they said, you need to make more of that, and that needs to be in your show, and da-da-da, and I went, okay.
She's humble as well.
It's a New Zealand tall poppy syndrome thing, I think.
Don't worry, we have it here too.
But yeah, I was part of how that came about was, I was asked to sing the theme song for a New Zealand nationwide national family violence campaign. So it was for a really good cause too. Yeah. And the song was called Closest Thing to Heaven. And there was a video made for the song, and
I'm going to try and dig that up.
It was all over the television, and I have got it somewhere, but I think it's on VHS. I need to get it. I need to get it changed over from VHS to digital. I need to do that. Yeah, it was really quite surreal, you know, and it seems like a whole different lifetime ago. And actually, that's probably also one of the catalysts that made me come to Australia, because that was released through Warner Brothers Music, and I had some meetings lined up in Sydney. Before I came to live here, I sort of came over to have a few meetings and things. And I've thought about this too. That was probably back in the day. It's not so much now with social media and people able to create their own niche markets and their own followings, and it doesn't matter what style you are or what you do, there's an audience out there for you. But this was back in the day where record companies really had to put you somewhere.
Right.
So it was kind of like, well, what do we do with you?
Yeah.
Where do we put you? What sort of artist are you? And you just kind of, and I always found that really hard because, you know, I had a jazz background as well as pop, and I loved R&B and soul.
You're too good at too many things.
But
in the kind of jobs we do, we have to be flexible.
Well, you do.
And that should be a good thing.
Well, it should be.
Yeah.
So I think it sort of never went further with the record companies and things, just because they couldn't put me anywhere, which in hindsight is probably a fantastic thing. I'm really grateful for that now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they would have done with me anyway. You hear so many horror stories of people signing up to record labels and then being shopped into, you know, a market or something that is not them and they're not happy with, only to break away from that and then have to rebuild their careers as who they really are later.
They don't lose the passion for it in the meantime, which a lot of people do. Yeah.
Absolutely, you know. So I guess that's a chapter of my life that was really interesting, and I don't give too much thought to it actually, but probably I should.
I think you should, but it's all about the future. And you know, you do have an album coming out probably early next year.
I think it's going to be a 2020.
Yeah, it always takes longer than you think.
And this one did take
difficult
a lot longer, initially,
But it's beautiful. I've heard little bits already, and it's absolutely divine. So, anyone that wants to find out more about you, where's the best place to go?
Facebook. So my Facebook fan page is Jo Elms Music. Instagram is jo.elms, and Twitter is joelms7.
I'll put these links in the notes as well.
Seven. Jo Elms 7.
Seven's a bit of a lucky number.
Well, maybe. I think there's actually a Jo.
There's 6 other of them.
If you Google Jo Elms, I get all these pictures come up with this blonde, plumpish lady who's in the UK who's like in real estate or something. So I think I couldn't have Jo Elms on Twitter, so I just went Jo Elms 7. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, make sure you look her up, and we'll let you know when the album's out anyway, so you can take a proper listen. Thank you so much.
Oh, are we over already?
Yeah. Well, unless there's anything, is there anything I should have asked you?
No, I don't think so.
Is there anything you desperately like to tell us that I haven't managed to?
No, well, they say that
you?
time goes fast when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
So.
I mean, we could sit here and talk for hours because we often do.
We could.
But I also know that I'm in your workspace at the moment, and you probably want to do more. And that's really interesting because I not long ago got my own attic space where I set up a studio, and oh my God, how much are you loving having your own space just so you can escape to and get creative and... I mean, there was a dog barking almost the whole time, but apart from that...
Actually, I didn't. He must have shut up.
He did. He's shut up now. He's really listening now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like yourself, when you have to work from home and you've got your own, attic space in home now, so it's sort of, it is kind of separate though.
Yes. I can close up the stairs, pull them up, and then no one will even know I'm there hiding in the roof.
And I think that's one thing that I've really enjoyed. I mean, my husband also, works from home as well. So, I mean, we have our own separate spaces for working at home, but it's also easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
And then you've got home things that need to be done.
Like the washing needs to be put out and all that stuff.
And I think you just need to have somewhere where you can escape to and go, okay, I'm actually here for a reason. It's not to do the washing or the dishes or get sidetracked.
I'm here to write a new
talking
album.
about plumbing. And
yeah.
So it's nice to have that creative space to come to, and this is a really great space. I'm really I'm really thankful. It's great. And this is this is the first time I've done anything here, so it's like
I'm your first visitor.
debut.
Yeah, excellent.
Studio debut.
Well, thank you so much for giving me your time
Thank
this
you
morning.
for having me. It's been awesome.
Yes, and we'll see you soon. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Truth will show when you stand so close, eye to eye.
Thank you so much for joining me for vlog. Do you say vlog or vlog? For my video diary, please subscribe on YouTube or the email list at amanda@amandaeaston.com. And I hope to see you next fortnight. Bye.
But I'll be watching you.